Higher Education Minister, Dr. Nzimande, has expressed concern at the number of TVET College and University employees who die at the hands of criminals. This comes in the wake of the killing of, Shan Dwarika, a lecturer in electrical engineering at Mangosuthu University of Technology. Now, police have arrested 2 suspects who are believed to be linked to the murder. At the same time, 12 students were arrested for torching parts of the University of Fort Hare campus. And now let's speak to the Minister who joins us live now. Minister, thank you so much for your time. Before we get into the issues of, the higher education sector, firstly, let's start with, your reaction, your message after the passing of the former Minister, Peterson. Minister, pardon me, I think you are on mute. We can't hear you.
Yes, thank you very much, Bongiwe, to you and your viewers and listeners. Of course, let me take this opportunity to express my own condolences on the passing away of our dear comrade, Peterson, who I've known for more than 30 years now. I can recall that we worked first very closely together when she was MEC4 in 1999, when I was Portfolio Committee Chairperson of Education in the National Assembly. We were in the trenches together, actually tasked with a very important job of creating a single education system from 19 different departments of education. A very hard-working person who I can really regard as a pioneer in educational transformation in many other respects. Comrade Tina also was a member of the South African Communist Party at that time, who at some stage also served in the Central Committee of our Communist Party. Very committed person and very committed cadre, and a very proud product of the Northern Cape province. I wish to express my condolences to the family as well as to her comrades in the African National Congress.
Now, let's then talk about the issues around the higher education sector. I mean, we saw the killing of a lecturer, a very disturbing story emerging from KwaZulu-Natal. And this, of course, has raised concern about the circumstances that could have led to this. What do you know?
Well, first of all, let me also express my department's and my own personal condolences to the Dwarika family for the loss of what one would call a very dedicated public servant, someone who was lecturing in areas of scarce skills, electronic as well as radio and television engineering, but chose to remain in the public sector. And for that matter, teaching in a township.
Minister, pardon me for coming in there. I'm going to try and ask the team to try and reconnect you because your line is deteriorating by the second. We're struggling to hear you. And that is, of course, the Higher Education Minister talking to us about, the issues in the higher education sector. All right, let's take you back now to this conversation with the Minister of Higher Education and Innovation. That's Dr. Nzimande, who joins us once again. Minister, I hope it's a better line right now. We were talking about the passing of Mr. Dwarika, a very disturbing story, and you were telling us, what do you know?
Yes, it is indeed a very disturbing story. Much as this did not happen near campus, not that it matters because a life has been lost. Because what I know is that Mr. Dwarika was in one of his private properties, just outside the car, and then was captured. The incident was captured by the CCTV cameras, when people grabbed him and threw him at the back of his car and drove off. He was missing for a couple of days, and then he was found, his body, in Nzimande, just outside Durban, and they had unfortunately murdered him. Now, the police, as far as we know, have actually arrested 2 people and they are also chasing two other suspects. At least this gives us some comfort that there are clear leads so that the perpetrators of this dastardly act are actually found.
I know that
What is disturbing to...
It's very disturbing, Minister.
Yes.
Pardon me for coming in there. What do you know? I know that the suspects have just been arrested and others are believed to be out at large. What are you hearing? Was he targeted or was it just another act of pure criminality?
Well, it's very difficult to say, Bongi, at this point in time. And I wouldn't like to really preempt or even second guess what the police may actually be investigating. All what we are hoping for is that sooner rather than later we will be able to get to the bottom of the truth through the work of the law enforcement agencies. For us, it's just a loss of a very well-experienced lecturer in a field of skills, which is radio and television engineering. And he was also beginning to do some very important work on renewable sources of energy as a lecturer. And you don't wake up in the morning and just microwave a 61-year-old with 26 years of experience to be actually lecturing students, and for that matter, in a township university. So it's a very big loss for our sector. Much as, of course, we passed our sympathy to the family because it cuts deeper for the family, but it's not only their loss.
And of course, you can only, just imagine the impact that this is going to have for the work of the university going forward. But let's talk about something else that is happening. Forte University, yesterday, we see the torching of some parts of that university. At the same time, this comes at the back of what has been going on there. What exactly, in your view, happened yesterday that triggered the students? Because we're hearing varying reports, a congested timetable, and supposedly students not being happy about what happened.
Well, let me just put it this way, Bongi. No matter what the complaint is, there is absolutely nothing that justifies the vandalization and the burning of an examinations hall. Because the purpose of that reaction can only be one. It's actually to deprive hundreds of thousands of other students of their opportunity to continue with their academic studies. We have been told that the students have been complaining about aspects of NSFAS, and others were complaining about the timetable. But I am sure that when the university opens in February, there are already dates that are known as to when the exams are going to be written and how the exams are going to be written. I only hope that the university itself, as it has said, has been engaging with students so that you don't have such things. But nothing justifies the burning and destruction of property. I am glad that also the student leadership is condemning this behavior, because as the student leadership itself said last night, this is an act of criminality. It's actually nothing else. It could be that some of these students were ill-prepared, actually, and now that the exams are around the corner, they think that the best way to get around that is actually to destroy the opportunities for other students. That is why, Bongi, also, we are calling on parents, because one of the things that's a problem with universities and colleges is that parents just take a distance. They need to come closer to know what their students, what their own children are doing. Are they progressing? Are they studying? Are they writing examinations? And to come closer to work with our institutions so that we are able to minimize this. We cannot continue to be having a situation where the academic progress of the overwhelming majority of students are actually undermined by a minority of students who, I have no doubt, most of whom are not adequately prepared for the examinations.
Now, Minister, before I lose you again to the line, let me just, get a sense now of the last question. The report that has been released into what, is taking place, possibly at Unisa. Now, Council, of course, talking about wanting to challenge that particular report. What is the latest in that regard?
The latest, Bongi, is simply this: that I have released the report to the University Council to study it and come back to me. I first gave them 14 days. They asked for an extra, for another 21 days. I gave them 10 days. I've gazetted the report and handed it over to the Speaker of the National Assembly so that Parliament can decide what it does with that report. And then after 30 days, I will then consider the response of Council as well as other comments that are coming from other interested stakeholders, after which then I will have to actually make a decision. So far, it's my report, and I'm not expecting anyone to act prematurely on the basis of the report. It's my report that is done at my behest. I will then have to respond to it, together with the earlier report, by the way, that I had commissioned to look at the operating model of Unisa, the business model of Unisa, as our single largest university that has got about 35% of our university students in South Africa.
And surely that's got you concerned, though, the state of that report and what's contained in it.
Indeed, the report, what it points out is of concern. That is why, in the first place, I appointed an assessor. Because in terms of my own assessment, I had already identified that there are problems in the institutions. The ministerial task team that I had appointed earlier had also given me a sense of the problems that were there. That is why I appointed the assessor to say, go and dig deeper into the nature and the extent of the challenges that are there. Now, at least I'm pleased that I've got a report in my hands on which then I will have to respond in order to address the problems that are besetting that single largest university in our country.
Minister, thank you so much for your time, and I hope next time it won't be via Zoom. You'll be visiting us in studio. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.